It's Law and Peace. So it's Friday, you know, out here having a little build, and I want to talk today about a number of things in regards to Moorish Science, Prophet Noble Jew Ali, and the whole ideology of what we call quote unquote black power, and how it has, if it has any saving power for us, or if it's just a waste of particular energy. Now, my thing is this: first of all, the Moorish Science Temple of America is one of the oldest organizations for quote-unquote Asiatic people. You know what I'm saying? It's been here for over 100 years. One of the first Islamic organizations for our people. Now, the thing is this: in modern times, what we're witnessing right now is because of particular agendas, because of, you know, people maybe having been through certain schools of thinking and so on and so forth, and now have rejected the ideas of what religion may mean to them and what religion is and how it's formed, not understanding that religion has nothing to do with man in its true form. But I understand the ideal of quote-unquote man-made religion coming from an ideology or philosophy, quote-unquote, you know what I'm saying, without having any spiritual relevance. Well, the thing is this: the Moorish Science Temple of America has a drill society as well as a spiritual society, full of spiritual degrees, full of things that can uplift our people. But because of its traditional tie or connection to quote-unquote what we would call religion, you have many detractors. You have many people who quote-unquote want to talk against this movement. In these modern days and times, it was the same way back then with the Negro Christian ministers and so on and so forth. We have Negro Christian ministers today in the form of conscious, what they call conscious scholars, but they're still Christian Negroes. They have a particular type of mentality that's still very divisive. That's still the same mentality as the Christian Negroes had those you know, 60, 70 years ago. You see what I'm saying? The spirit of truth still exists, and the spirit of falsehood still exists. So wherever there's the spirit of truth, there will be the spirit of falsehood. Make that, you do, just let that be known. So there's a whole movement against the Moorish Science Temple of America and Noble Jew Ali. And there are those of us who are the protectors. You know what I'm saying? The prophet doesn't need protection per se. You understand what I'm saying? But what needs to be done is that errors need to be corrected. All lies must be corrected. You know what I'm saying? Falsehood must be turned into truths. Misinterpretations must be interpreted properly and correctly, so that there will be no confusion later on in the future when this information is being taught to the future, to the babies and so on and so forth. We have to correct the errors, and a lot of these errors are intentional errors. A lot of these things are built on rumors, built on educated, what I call pretended educated guesses. You know what I'm saying? In other words, it's really based on emotions and feelings about what people don't like, or how they personally take in their own feelings towards a religion or a spiritual system, or you know, so on and so forth. And there's also a long history of counterintelligence programming. You know what I'm saying? That a lot of these cats have in their minds already. They've become indoctrinated to counterintelligence programming. They think they're actually trying to raise the people up and trying to do something and expose this and expose that, but their premeditated ideology is not to expose anything but to cause division. You know what I'm saying? And to take control of quote-unquote this conscious movement for the purposes of, you know what I'm saying, giving it back to the devil. See, they work for the devil. You understand what I'm saying? And it's okay, because the devil is not a spiritual being under the ground. The devil is a frequency. You understand what I'm saying? The devil and the frequency comes in many forms. It can be carried into many shapes and sizes and so on and so forth. You understand what I mean? So, you know, again, the Moorish Science Temple of America, Prophet Noble Jew Ali, you know what I'm saying? Everybody's against that movement. Everybody's against it. Everybody wants to see it fall, but you can't kill truth. It's always been. It was the first thing here. It'll be the last thing here. You understand what I'm saying? And all you're doing is, when you're trying to expose the Moorish Science Temple of America, all you're doing is bringing more credibility to it. You're showing and proving that you can't be the big bad wolf and blow the house down, because the house ain't made of straw. The house is made of bricks. It's standing on a solid rock foundation, a rock called understanding. You know what I'm saying? That you can't take away from man, and the understanding leads man to another rock called salvation. You understand what I mean? And this is deep, because this is not something outside of self that we're dealing with as Moorish American scientists, as Moorish American Muslims. We know and understand exactly what this science is all about, because the Prophet demonstrated in such a way that it can't be beat. It'll beat you to death. You trying to harm this movement will harm you, because every time you try to throw a brick at this movement, a brick is thrown back. You understand what I'm saying? Because this movement is designed, and this movement is divinely protected. divinely protected. You understand? And anything that attempts to attack it, you know what I'm saying, is going to have some recompense to deal with. That's just how it works. Now, as far as this whole thing about black power is nothing more than a reactive response to white supremacy. Black power has no saving power in it whatsoever. Black power has no thought process in it whatsoever because it's a reactionary process. And black power hasn't gotten our people anywhere. You understand? It's just a facade. It's a beautiful thing to say when you're upset and you're mad and you can't respond in the way in which you want to respond and deal with the devil and deal with the beast system. You can't fight and do certain things, so you get mad and you scream black power. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, black power, that's what you do. That's what many of us do, and many of us have done. It's a reactive response to white supremacy. Black power doesn't have an agenda. It's a very finite thing because it's very, very temporary. It only lasts for a minute because it's a reaction. You understand what I'm saying? You don't see black power in action. You don't see if there's an economic basis behind it or a psychological, spiritual base behind it. Black power lacks a spiritual continence. You understand what I'm saying? The way they teach black power today, quote unquote, there's no deity or no supernatural internal force that has anything to do with black power. You know what I'm saying? They don't relate themselves or align themselves with a universal principle. You understand what I mean? It's just what it is. A premeditated reactionary thought process that has no saving power to white supremacy, but what it actually does is it engulfs white supremacy even more. So those who scream black power are actually empowering the white supremacist paradigm as they speak. Because what they're doing is they're bringing relevance to a white supremacist paradigm, making it exist. And the thing is this is an old science I keep telling y'all, man. What you resist persists. What you resist persists. You see what I'm saying? Because it's going to always persist, because while you're trying to resist it, you have to resist it not only physically, but you have to resist it in thinking. And if you're resisting it in thinking, that's what you're doing. You're still thinking about it. It's in your thought. Therefore, it's going to still exist outside of you. There's another way to deal with quote-unquote white supremacy, and you deal with it by being your natural self, being who you are. And that's why the prophet was so great, because he came back and taught man to raised us up, teaching us to be ourselves. Because being black, colored, and Negro is a character reference. You understand what I'm saying? And there's a whole character reference that comes along with the black, colored, and the Negro. There's an action that comes along with each one of those words. Black, colored, Negro. There's a vibration. There's a frequency that comes along with it. There's an action that comes along with it. So the prophet began to uplift the Moorish Americans by teaching them to be themselves. This is how we beat quote-unquote white supremacy, by being our natural, authentic selves, because we can't do that being black, colors, and Negroes. And this is why we scream black power and all of these reactionary things, because we're not even being our own selves. And we think we are because somebody told you that this is who you were. But the reality is that you have to examine yourself. The first thing that we were taught is man, know thyself. Man, know thyself is a powerful statement, because that's the statement of the ancients. This is what the ancients taught us. Man, know thyself. Not a law, not Hebrew, not whatever, but know thyself. And when man knows thyself, he knows his true connection and his true reference to all of those deities I just named. You understand what I'm saying? Because when man understands his true reference, his true point, his true origin, he knows and understands that he's not his flesh. He understands that he's borrowing these things and he's utilizing these things for this plane of existence. You see what I'm saying? So I just want you to understand where I'm coming from. You can't defeat Moorish science, man. You can't defeat it. No matter how many times you try to throw bombs at it or whatever, there's someone and something protecting this movement. There are angels around this movement, man. You understand what I'm saying? And there will always be those who will stand up and fight for this movement, because we understand what it is and the salvation that it has for our people. We're preserving these holy and divine laws. You understand what I'm saying? And we will preserve them in any means necessary. And check this. We're not reactionaries. We just ask that everybody leave the Moors alone. You understand what I'm saying? Just leave us alone, because you're not going to get paid off of us. You know what I'm saying? You're not going to make yourself famous off of trying to belittle the truth. You understand what I mean? It just doesn't work like that. We don't bother nobody. And we don't want you to bother us, because if you have to bother us, then we have to come and deal with you. That's just how it works, man. You understand what I'm saying? And the whole black power thing, again, it's an illusion. It has no saving power. It's a reactive measure, a reactionary measure. Reactions don't have nothing no power if it doesn't have an agenda behind it or some type of organized outcome. So then, therefore, it wouldn't even be a reaction. It would be something strategized. But black power is just a reaction, which is why it has never done anything for our people. So with that being stated and with that being said, you can't beat Moorish Science. You got a problem with Moorish Science? Please bring your information correctly to the table and stop passing the misinformation on purpose, because there's somebody to always correct your errors. You know what I'm saying? And your errors are so minute. It's so ridiculous, man. You understand what I'm saying? So today, on this holy day, this is what I'm speaking about right now. It's protecting, you know what I'm saying, and upholding the Moorish Science Temple of America, as well as our holy divine prophet, Noble Drew Ali, and as well as exposing and giving some light to this idea called black power. Because it's just an idea that really has no saving power. Look at it from its inception back in the 70s. What did it do? It got people, it gathered people up, it made people strong, it gave people something to be excited about. But what did it produce? What did it produce is the question. And we're still screaming and hollering black power today, and what is it producing? With that being stated, do the knowledge. Peace.